On July 4th, 1992, Brian Peterson aboard Sunrider, a 24-foot Zodiac rigid inflatable boat, left San Francisco to circumnavigate the globe. 2 years and 2 months later, after crossing the world's ocean and presenting educational and media programs in 25 countries, Sunrider returned under the Golden Gate Bridge.
The essence of the whole trip was to show that you can use vegetable oil as a fuel in diesel engines without modifying the engines. The word biodiesel should be associated with the Sunrider Expedition. The two should be thought of together because biodiesel is what allowed the Sunrider Expedition to exist. It's the fuel that was used in the boat as I took it around the world. And the unique thing about it is that it has value for the environment. The purpose of the expedition is to raise environmental awareness about biodiesel.
During its 35,000-mile round-the-world voyage, Sunrider set many important records. Not only is it the smallest power boat to ever circle the world, it is also the only one to do so powered by clean-burning biodiesel. Biodiesel is an alternative fuel that helps clean up the air and the environment by dramatically reducing exhaust emissions from diesel engines. It is simple to use, made from renewable sources grown in the U.S. and is readily available. Biodiesel is both non-toxic and biodegradable.
The response very good, but the most enthusiastic response was where I would do presentations in schools. I went to 25 countries. Either the children came down to the boat or I went to the schools, and we talked about the environmental value. And the response was overwhelming. They all wanted to make the fuel themselves because they could. It's very simple to make. And they wanted to use it because they didn't like the smell of their school buses if they had them. And it was pretty thrilling to see that. It was an emotional response because people at every level are aware of changes in the environment. Anything that has to do with improving the environment is something that's very relevant in every part of the world.
The Sunrider's runs were typically 170 or so miles a day, with speeds averaging 7 to 9 knots. Most of the time, the boat cruised on autopilot, while Brian and teenage son Dan, who traveled 1/3 of the voyage, performed a wide range of activities. These included reading navigational charts, battling hurricane-strength winds, rogue waves, sheet lightning storms, submerged logs, and 20-foot seas. A different kind of challenge was met in preparing foods without a galley and keeping themselves cleaned and groomed without a bathroom. Many hours were spent in general maintenance and handling various mechanical emergencies. Monitoring the instruments was a round-the-clock necessity. Even with all these duties, there was plenty of time left to enjoy a swim, read a book, or simply gaze out at the horizon while watching the abundance of sea life surrounding them.
If you go to sea in a sailboat and your sailboat sinks, which it might, then this is the boat that comes to get you. So I thought in doing a voyage like this, I would take the rescue boat rather than the sinking sailboat, and pardon all the sailors out there, but so that was underlying the whole thing. I was a paramedic for 15 years in Hawaii, and I learned to use these boats in situations, in the Hawaiian Islands.
Sunrider is a 24-foot Zodiac hurricane rescue boat with a custom-built aluminum cabin. Its inflatable tubes give the vessel the extra stability and buoyancy that makes it nearly unsinkable. Solar panels are built into the canopy and can provide about 160 watts of electricity in good weather. Sunrider is powered by a 180 horsepower Mercruiser diesel stern drive engine and backed up by a 27 horsepower Yanmar diesel outboard for emergency use. Its 700-gallon fuel capacity allows the Sunrider to cruise up to 1,500 miles without refueling. Sponsors provide a wealth of state-of-the-art electronics, including autopilot, GPS, radar, and ComSat satellite communication systems.
This fuel then was made in from American soybeans. There's 400,000 soybean farmers in America. It's America's third largest crop. So soybean oil from all over America was used by a plant, a company called Interchem in Kansas City. That company turned this fuel, this vegetable oil, this soybean oil, into biodiesel, and then they would put it in 55-gallon containers, put the containers 4 at a time on a pallet, put the pallets on a truck, put the truck on its way to New York, and then if, as in the case of trying to get some down to Africa one time, if the truck driver doesn't get drunk and abandon his truck, then it'll show up in time to meet, you know, a ship that will take it to one of 20 or 30 some ports around the world where I would try and meet up with it. And then that meeting up with it was a process of, you know, trying to bribe your way through customs, find a canoe to transport it out to your boat, throw it in the water and let it drift to you, and then pump all those, what turned out to be 18,000 gallons of fuel, pump every one of those gallons on board. So it was, the logistics of it were the hardest part. The logistics of getting fuel to the boat was the hardest part of the expedition. Sailing was easy. You just hop in. If the boat floats and the engine runs, you just read a book. It doesn't take any skill or any talent at all. But getting the fuel there took talent, took skill and patience and all that. So it was quite a challenge.
Look, Mom, the sun is setting lower. It's sinking to the other side. Go fast, the day is almost over now. We go long way, water all day. We sail on. You know we got no time, play a lot. We sail on. Sunrise, sunset, we work till left. We sail on. God, He guide us, Spirit guide us. We sail on.
The primary sponsor was my family, because nobody gave more than my wife. And the largest and most significant external sponsor was the United Soybean Board. And when I say that, it sounds like an organization, but what I'm talking about are the 400,000 soybean farmers in America. The guys who are on those farms when you drive by in your car real quick, those are the guys who sponsored this expedition. And the reason why is because they have something they want people to hear about. They have a new product, and that product's biodiesel.